welcome to a community update from the Department of Senior Affairs. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Today's title of the show is Rotary-Making a Difference. And we're going to be talking about the Rotary Club of Albuquerque. And with us to talk about that is Mary Bresnahan, the president, and Allan Bash, the immediate past president. And I know that I had the chance to speak to the Rotary Club a couple of months ago on 2 occasions, and I really enjoyed that. So I think a lot of people may not know about the Rotary Club, and it's something that I think, and there's, Emily Blea, one of your members, actually had retired, a couple of years ago, and she was mentioning to me all the things that you do, and there's a lot of them. So I think, welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
really a pleasure to have you on.
on.
And, Mary, since you're the current president, I'm going to shoot you the first question, and I don't mean literally with the gun or anything, but what is Rotary about? I mean, a lot of people want to know that, and when I saw everybody gather at the Garden Club, I believe, over there by Los Altos, it had quite a membership. So what is Rotary about?
Rotary is a service organization, and it is an international organization. And it started about 120 or 110 years ago in the Chicago area.
Oh, that long ago? Okay,
yes.
I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, and it started out for fellowship and then kind of moved from there. And it is international, and one of the major focuses of Rotary has always been to eradicate polio. And we've been quite successful with that. There are only 2 countries left just this far away from accomplishing that goal, and that is Pakistan and Afghanistan, where polio still exists.
Interesting. Okay.
And we just recently, at the end of October, we had a fundraiser here in town that brought together the 8 various Rotary clubs in the metro area to collect money for polio. So we were raising funds for that effort. It takes 60 cents for any child to receive all 3 of the oral vaccines to eradicate polio. And we still want to keep that focus because I think that there are many young people who have no idea what polio is, and lots of people who don't understand that there is such a thing called post-polio syndrome, which are the after effects. And polio is a virus that impacts the nervous system and the spine and the limbs. And so it can be very crippling. And some people, it impacts the lungs. And without an iron lung or something like that, they don't survive.
Now, former President Franklin Roosevelt had polio, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So, but I got to ask you this. I'm going to ask you this, Allan. 110 years ago, polio during that time was a big deal. It's not so much now.
Right.
You mentioned that only 2 countries, I believe, the polio vaccine came in, things like that. So, has the mission of the Rotary Club changed a bit, or is that still the main mission and goal of the Rotary Club?
The actual mission came from the World Health Organization in 1985. I mean, Rotary existed for a long time and had other projects going, but it wasn't until 1985 that the World Health Organization came in and said, we need help. Can you help us eradicate polio? And so from 1985 until now, that's what Rotary's been able to accomplish, is all but 2 countries. So we say we're this close.
Man, that is a major goal because, again, polio, when it hit here in the United States until the vaccine came, was, I think, former President Roosevelt actually, I don't know if that, he had an aneurysm in his head that he died of, I believe, Franklin Roosevelt. But that was a disease that, followed him his entire, almost his entire adult life, I believe.
He was in a wheelchair.
Yes.
Right.
So, so anyway, I think, so that's most of your mission then. So, and according to what you said, it's been very successful.
It has been.
It has been, and I think it's also important to get the message out for young people to get their children vaccinated, because with transportation, what it is today, we're just a heartbeat away from having it come back here in the States. So for parents to get their children vaccinated is very important, and to get that polio vaccine.
Now explain that, because that's kind of piqued my interest when you said that we're only a step away from it coming back. I mean, a lot of people would say, what do you mean by that? And I know I just want to know, because that that would alarm some, but there has to be a reason you said that, and I'm sure it's a very
Well, look what
thoughtful
happened.
one.
Look what happened with the Ebola. That was an airplane flight away from coming back to this country, and there were a couple of cases here. And the same thing can happen again if someone gets on an airplane or somehow gets that virus. It's going to spread, just as it had, to those who have not been vaccinated.
Boy, that's very important information, I believe. And then again, some people with the vaccines have been a lot of people saying, well, should they get vaccinated? There's been a big controversy
Yes.
about that.
Exactly.
About how the vaccines affect. A lot of people are anti-vaccine right now, but
Right.
you're still saying you better get that polio vaccination,
Exactly.
which for everybody growing up was pretty standard. Still is, right?
Right.
It is, if they're getting vaccinated.
There was a man in Pakistan, and the religious leaders over there had talked to a number of people and said, don't get the vaccine, the West is trying to do something to your children or whatever. So this man held his son or daughter back from getting the vaccine, and a week after the Rotarians left that area, his daughter came down with polio. And he now goes around the country of Pakistan with his daughter and telling people, this is what happens if you don't get the vaccine.
That's, again, the West, meaning the United States. Okay, so there's a lot of people that are against Western medicine, against Western traditions, but in that case there, I think that testimony speaks for itself right there. And that's sad.
It is.
That
It
really
is.
is, because, again, there's a lot of people that wouldn't be informed and would believe, things that aren't true. And have to pay the ultimate price. Boy, that's sad. It's just. But then maybe with his seeing that, and unfortunately he had to see that with his daughter, maybe the word gets out. People see that and believe for themselves.
Yep.
But I gather that Mary, that the Rotary Club does much more than just
do.
Again, when I saw you all get together, can you talk a little bit about that's your mission, to eradicate polio? It's an important one. You've done well with it. What else?
There are lots of other projects that Rotary gets involved in that are international projects. We are now supporting another club who has started a project in Bangladesh for a school, and they need to expand that school and need more supplies, etc., books for the students. And so Rotary will get into those kinds of projects, or they do a lot of water projects to provide safe drinking water in different countries. Guatemala is one of them, because if things are healthier and there are schools, then the children can go to school, they become educated, and therefore the quality of life improves. In many countries, it's the girls who are not going to school. And it has been found and statistically proven that if you educate the girls, once they get older and they have children, they're going to make sure that their children are educated, and it raises the quality of life that exists in that particular country. We've just been working with a project in Nepal through a group called Women to Be, and we literally have been cutting and sewing hygiene kits for young women in a very remote village in Nepal. And the story behind that is that in this village, the girls would not go to school when they were menstruating. And so therefore, they would fall behind in school, and eventually they would drop out, and then they would get married, and then they would have multiple children, and the cycle just keeps going. The lady with Woman to Be, who is an Albuquerquean and now a Rotarian, she has put this project together to get these hygiene kits to these young ladies, and therefore they won't be dropping out of school, and they will be getting their education, and then they won't be getting married at a very young age and having, 2+ children. So again, the basis gets to education and being able to educate them and so that they can have a better life. And that has been an awesome, awesome project.
Well, you know what, I talk about the impact there because I think, again, like everybody thinks, you're thinking outside your box, you're outside the United States box. And everyone, not everybody can go out there and turn the water on and have clean drinking water or turn on, we're so spoiled as a country. We're very, let's be
Yes.
honest, we are.
Yeah.
And we expect so many things, and it's a rich, country, with riches, no question. We're very blessed to live here. I don't think there's any doubt. But you're talking about third world countries like that, and the impact that you're talking about, these hygiene, my goodness, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm trying to wrap my mind around that, because not everybody lives like Americans. Not everybody wants to live like us. Let's be honest. It's not, they don't, and they don't have the resources we have.
Exactly.
So what you're talking about doing that in Nepal, and wow, I'm just trying to see this in my mind. What an impact.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
and we have so many disposable things here in the U.S. They don't. They don't have garbage service. So this has to be a reusable kit, which it is, because they can't throw things out. They don't have things coming in there that they can use like we do. And you're right. We are so blessed and so spoiled in this country because we have so much. But I think it goes back to the saying of those who have much, much is expected of you.
So with the Rotary's mission, again, is there a mission statement that you have? I mean, because when you're talking about doing this clean water and, the hygiene kits and the polio, I'm gathering you do other things besides just that. Is there a mission statement to help just...
Service
Right.
above self.
That's the overall statement for Rotary International. Our particular club, I mean, we've talked about international, but our club, we talk about helping those who fall between the cracks. So we do a lot of community projects, and we look for a lot of community projects. So we have helped Locker 505. We've gotten a fax copier for them that they were looking for, and a collection barrel. We worked with them. We've also worked with wings and school supplies for children, which there's a lot of those kinds of things going on in town at the beginning of the school year. We've worked with Roadrunner Food Bank,
Storehouse.
the Storehouse, the Rio Grande Food Project. We're working with them. We do a project with 2 senior housing facilities where we go and bring them a little holiday celebration. Let's see, what else do we have? We're getting involved with Mission Graduate, which is a big push area in town to get children to graduate from high school and have some kind of career. We're going to be doing more with them. We do something as simple as collecting pop tops from soda cans to go to Ronald McDonald House, toiletries if someone's traveling, to go to a woman's shelter for those ladies.
Help Salvation Army.
Salvation Army, we're
Ring
going to
the
be
bell.
doing bell ringing. So those are some of the community things that we've done. And we as Rotary Sandia, we're a very small club. We only have about 24 members, and so you can tell we're quite active, and we're very busy doing things. But having said that, we do have the resources of other Rotary clubs here in town that we can partner with and work with on different projects here in the community too.
Let me ask you a question. How many in town, chapters, we talked about this before the show started, how many chapters of the Rotary are there in Albuquerque?
Between Albuquerque and Rio Rancho, there are 8 clubs. And they all vary in size. There is the largest club, which is the Downtown Rotary of Albuquerque Club, and that is celebrating their 100th anniversary this year.
Wow.
And they have approximately 200 members. So we go from very large to small like
Very
us.
small, yeah.
And you have 24, you said.
Yeah.
So, gosh, that started in 1915 then. They're starting celebrating 100 years. So that's a long time. You know,
That's a-
that is a long time. I guess we have some other questions for you here too. And I think, you know what, I think you said it's, Allan, service above self. And the things that the Rotary Club is doing is just, to me, it's amazing. And this is something you just touched on, some of them. But when I hear that, I think that means so much to help other people that are less than what we have. That's a lot of my prayers sometimes when I'm praying with my family is, help those less fortunate than us, because we're very fortunate. So I think, there's something that you get out of that, I think. And one of the questions I want to ask is, what does it take to be a member of the Rotary Club? What does it take? Besides just, is there dues that you pay and things like that? People are going to want to know that. I mean, how often do you meet? Where do you meet? What
Right.
time? Things like that. People are going
Right.
to want to know, because they want to know there's going to be people that are going to watch this. They're going to feel a call. I already do. I'd love it. No, because my wife and I know we're always looking for something, how can we, if we can, we certainly,
Sure.
Yeah.
and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to know, what does
Right.
it take? Where do you meet? Things like that.
Well, it doesn't take a whole lot to be a Rotarian, especially with our club, Sandia Club. We are considered a quote-unquote flex club because we don't do everything that all of the other Rotary clubs do. So we do meet every week, which is what most Rotary clubs do. But a lot of our members, our personal members, are retired.
So they
and
travel.
They want to travel. They have other interests. And so we're very flexible about that. Our dues currently are $125 for the year, and that's it.
How much?
$125
Okay.
for the year. And as I said, we meet once a week. And, from there we go and we do our projects. Now coming up with the holidays, we won't be meeting every single week because of the holidays, but our club meets on Tuesday at 11:45 at the Event Palace at 1413 Eubank Northeast. And so anybody is welcome at any time to come. A lot of the Rotary clubs, it's a little more expensive because they have a formal lunch or a formal breakfast. We don't do that.
I was there, and I think it was bring your own. Yeah.
Yeah, you
yes.
bring your own. We're the
Okay.
brown
Brown bag
bag
Oh,
club.
you have to have,
That's right.
everybody has to have their own identity as a club. So
Exactly.
Right.
So that makes it a lot cheaper. And so all you have to do to be a member is have an interest in giving back and making a difference, and be willing to participate in the projects. That's basically it.
And I'm gathering that, when I saw the club at the one on Eubank, I'm gathering the people that are involved in this definitely want to give back something, no matter what their career, what their lives were. They're at a stage, and you said they're retired and they do want to travel, but there's something they still want to give back. Service meant above self, as you said, Allan, still means something to them. Because I wouldn't think you can get involved with the Rotary Club no matter what chapter it is and not feel some sense of that. Otherwise, why? And I think that's what the beauty of it. Because you have all these people together that want to give back.
Exactly.
Because it's not about you. It's not about what we can get. It's almost
Exactly.
what JFK said, years ago. It's almost the same thing.
Yep.
Well, and as I've heard a couple of people say most recently who are relatively new to Rotary, they said, I got into Rotary because I wanted to do something in the community. But what I've learned is that if Rotarians say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. Because oftentimes you go and you meet people and they say, oh, yeah, and then they sort of forget about it and it doesn't happen. But if a Rotarian says they're going to do it, they're going to do it.
But I think, let me ask you this too, because I think this spawns other questions. But you said that, but I think the Rotarians that you have, I'm gathering, come from all walks, right? All walks of life. I'm sure retired, they bankers, doctors, I'm sure. But I gather that in their lives, what they did in the past, they must have had served somewhere, somebody. I don't know that you just jump into that. Maybe some people do. What do you find with that? In other words, the people's past, they've never done that, or they've been servants in the past, public servants. What do you find? I don't know if there's any.
I think Allan can address that, but I would say that they are, whether they've been in Rotary for a long time or not, no matter what their profession was, there's something innate within them that has a desire to do good, to do something worthwhile. Maybe they were very busy in their professional life and didn't have that opportunity because of the hours that they put in or whatever. And now they have the opportunity to give back to the community, and they've always wanted to do that. So I think
okay.
that there's an innate
Yeah.
desire.
Yeah.
What would you say about that, Allan?
I had a high school kid ask me one time, what it took to join Rotary. And I told him about the $125, and I said, now the other thing, if you want to join at least our club, is you have to be available to come to lunch. And of course, his job was a straight 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon,
8 to 5.
30 minutes off for lunch, and that was it. So he went away kind of sad about all of that. But it's one of those things that even he, as a high school student, wanted to get involved with this group of people who go around and are involved with different projects in the community just to help the community become a better place in which to live.
Tells you a lot about that young man, I guess, in that he's only 18, 17 years old, and he already has a calling for that, and who knows what his career will be, but he already has to join the
Right.
Rotary, man.
But
That's great.
Having said that, Allan, say a little bit more about Interact and
Rotaract.
Rotaract.
There's a Rotaract Club, which is the college-age people that can be a part of Rotary, and there's one at the University of New Mexico right now, and I think they have about 30.
I don't know exactly how many, but they also have one at CNM that's getting
Oh, that's
going.
right, CNM.
Yeah.
And there are several Interact clubs, and Interact is for high school students who want to be involved with Rotary at the high school level. They can't take time out to drive to come to a meeting, once a week or whatever. But after school, they have their meeting. They've got a sponsor there at the school, and it's very simple in terms of the requirements. They do 2 projects a year. One is for the community, and one is for the larger community, the world, and to be involved with some kind of a project that connects them outside the United States. And it's rather exciting.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all because, sometimes people just see what's in front of them. And young kids, if they have that experience to see, we help some people in Nepal. Gosh, what's the impact? To me, when you talked about it, and I'm thinking of wrapping my mind around that, what you did there, and again, people, it's a blip, right? But still, it's still,
Sure.
Everybody has clean drinking water. They don't. Not everybody can just turn it on and it comes out
Exactly.
and turn the heat on and it's there, and it's not. Like I said, we're the most
Exactly.
spoiled country in the whole universe.
Yeah.
And again, I'm proud to be an American. Don't get me wrong, but it's the truth. There's people that don't live like that. They can't live like that. I want to ask you this too. The people that you send these things to. Do you have correspondence? I'm gathering they don't have a lot of email or things like that. So is there any correspondence between, in other words, letters written or anything like that? Do you see the pictures, the effect of that? I'm sure you do.
There is usually another club at that, a Rotary club at that location who will help with that. Because if we do a project, we do have to report that to Rotary International, and so they have a whole tracking system about what kind of progress are you making, and pictures included. So, we have made a connection with a Rotary club in Nepal who hopefully will help us transport these kits from the U.S. to Nepal, particularly Kathmandu, and then up to this remote village. So we usually use a Rotary Club for a connection in that country that will communicate with us and tell us how things are going.
So there's an international Rotary clubs too. Mention that a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
Because I
Right.
think people will
Yeah.
think it's just
No.
here.
It's
You partner with other
it's
Rotary
international.
clubs. That's beautiful,
Yes.
man. That is so beautiful.
A- as an example of how that can work is you can go on the internet and you can find a Rotary Club, and it may take a while to get a response. I was fortunate enough to just do a bucket list trip to South Africa, and I connected months and months ago with a Rotary Club in Cape Town. And so when I was there, I was able to meet some of the members of that club. So if they have a project, I see in the future, there's a possibility we could partner with them in Cape Town and work on a project with them.
Wow. You know, you mentioned Kathmandu, and again, that big earthquake just happened there, what, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was that still a chance that, you know, they're going to go through there to Nepal? I mean, I don't even know if that's possible now with that earthquake happening the way it
I
did.
think things are better there. We did purchase a shelter box for someone over there who had effects of that earthquake. There was also someone else who was working on some other kinds of shelters that they were putting together from recycled wood, whatever was available after that earthquake. So we contributed to them so that they could have some shelter built before the monsoon started over there. So again, that was through another Rotary Club in Nepal who was heading that up.
So Rotary chapters all over the world.
All over the world.
Well, how important is
And-
that? Gee, that's really important.
I think
yeah.
that that is huge because we can go for grants, and with Rotary International and the foundation that has been set up, we might contribute, let's say, $1,000 this year. In 3 years, that money is going to come back to our district, which is here in New Mexico and West Texas, and that's multiplied because of interest. And so then that money has just multiplied to work for a project. We have community projects. We just received a grant to help a local school here, a private school, Cross of Hope Elementary, to get iPads for their students because they don't have any of that. So our club is going to put in $1,500 and Rotary International is going to give us $1,500. So we're able to write a check to that school for $3,000 to purchase iPads.
You mentioned Cross of Hope, is that what you said? Mm-hmm. Here locally?
Yes, they're on the west side.
Okay, yeah. I've only lived in Albuquerque 53 years, but that doesn't mean
it's on
that
the west
doesn't mean
side.
right. Okay,
Yeah, west
okay.
side's all new,
because
right?
the west side is expanding.
Yes,
you know. And
yeah.
So okay, Cross of Hope. That's then I think again that's you know locally you help internationally, you help Rotary clubs help
Right.
around the world.
And Allan had mentioned the two student organizations, Interact and Rotaract. Rotary International also does scholarships, peace fellowship scholarships, because that is the overarching umbrella of Rotary, is peace, friendship. And so by doing a water project or doing the shelters in Nepal, it brings people together, which helps bring about peace, because we're all people. It doesn't matter where we live. It's the politics that gets things kind of funny. But we have that scholarship, we have exchange students. There are a number of things that Rotary International does at all levels.
Okay, no doubt about it. You know what? We got a couple of minutes here, and gosh, what a great talk. I certainly learned a lot about it, and I think the viewers will as well. But I wanted to ask you, who is eligible to join Rotary Club before we wrap this up? And I'll give you a minute. With a minute left, you can wrap it all up. But who's eligible to join Rotary? Because that's another. You said the young man asked. I don't know if he was eligible, but who is eligible?
He would have been. He just couldn't take off for lunch.
Anybody.
So
Anybody.
basically
Anybody. Anybody who wants to make a difference, give back to the community in some way, they're all eligible.
I don't think you can get. And let me ask you this: in your chapter, and let me ask you this first: all your chapters together, do you get together for a big Rotary function, or you guys just do your own thing? Everybody does their own. The chapters.
no, we've got
Albuquerque.
district meetings.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
do have big.
Yeah.
Everybody comes together.
Yes,
Sure,
and we have a district conference which will be in May, and it's going to be here in Albuquerque this year. I don't know the exact dates at this point, but that's all of the Rotary clubs within our district, which is all of New Mexico and West Texas, get together and do various things. We work with a Rotary Club. We sent them money. We have a camp that happens every summer called RYLA. It's Rotary Youth Leadership. I don't remember what the A is for. Nobody does. But at any rate, it's a leadership camp. And if we don't have a high school student who's a junior who is eligible to go to that camp, we can give the funds that we have set aside for another student. And we helped a student in El Paso this year and one in Las Cruces to go to this camp, because we couldn't find a student. But we're always looking for a junior who has some leadership abilities that we can send to this camp for a week, and it is amazing, life-changing for them.
You get a lot out of that. Got about 30 seconds left. Wrap it up for us.
Well, we welcome anybody to contact us. They can contact me at 505-922-1973 and talk about Rotary, coming to a club meeting, seeing what it's about.
Bring your peanut butter and jelly sandwich in a brown bag and come to the meeting.
Exactly.
Walk through the door.
Yeah.
Bring your sense of humor.
Sure.
And we'd love to have you.
Mary Bresnahan, president of the Rotary Club, Allan Bush, immediate past president. Thanks so much for talking to us about the Rotary Club. It's been a great show.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
bet.
you.
For the Department of Senior Affairs, I'm Ed Nunez.